I'm sorry that the story had to end in a sad way. I'm saying that this ending is even worse than my previous writing's ending. That's just me. Adeline and Christopher would say something else. Those days after this tragic mishap were sickening. I kept crying. I had no willpower to do anything. My parents couldn't help but cry like me. The news about everything was quickly heard across all of Greenfield. From Joshua's death to Clyde's near-death experience with Mr. Franklin and his upcoming surgery for his injury, along with the horror fair ordeal, everyone was fearful, knowing that Mr. Franklin was back in town, and it was confirmed this time. And a funeral event at a cemetery would be hosted on the 22nd of June that I was going to go to. For the 3 days after I got home, I think the car dropped me off. I can't remember. I haven't heard any other news regarding the fair and Mr. Franklin. My parents explained to me that they got caught in the line for a very long time, so they never got to see the circus. I am eternally grateful for that. I love my parents. When the 22nd came around, we dressed for the funeral and headed out. Barely any words had been exchanged between my parents and me for the past couple of days. That stayed the same throughout the entire car ride. We had to drive far out of town to a city called Madison in Wisconsin. The cemetery where the funeral was hosted was very exotic and beautiful. The overcast sky contrasted with the beautiful pink flowers wrapped around the perimeter of the cemetery. Multiple people were already sitting in the cemetery in the wooden chairs. Along with that, 3 very handsome men were standing at the front of the cobblestone aisle. A wooden coffin was laid at the feet of the men. One of the men was holding a microphone, the other was holding a small Bible, and another one was holding a small book. "Please take a seat at one of the wooden chairs, guest," said one of the 3 men quietly. I sat in the closest seat to the aisle. My parents sat next to me. Everyone, including my parents and I, were holding a bouquet of indigo flowers. Sitting there in silence wasn't too bad. I saw Adeline and Christopher stroll into the cemetery. Adeline was wearing a pink dress, and Christopher was dressed like the rest of the men there. Like everyone else, they were holding a bundle of indigo flowers. It'd be a lie to say that any words were exchanged amongst anyone. It was dead silent, with the sound of only a light breeze and drizzle. About 15 minutes later, the funeral began. "Hello, everyone. My name is Marcus, and welcome to the funeral of Joshua Franklin," said Marcus through the microphone. "We'll start a funeral by saying our prayers, then moving on to eulogies before listening to religious readings and funeral music, and finally burying Joshua's coffin." Marcus went behind the 2 other men while handing the microphone to the man in the front of the line. He recited our prayer before going behind Marcus and handing the microphone to the man in front of the line. For our eulogy readings, we have Leo, Christopher, Adeline, Brianna, Taurus, Marcus, and all other City Hall members, said the man. Then we'll follow up with behalf readings and eulogies by people who couldn't attend the funeral today. The man's tone was getting more sorrowful as he continued speaking. "Leo will be going first." I audibly gulped when I heard that. Whispers from everyone near me were chanting me on. I had things in mind to say, but I wasn't entirely sure if I could convey them the right way. Disregarding my anxiety, I sternly walked up to the front of the aisle. Microphone in hand, I started speaking. "Hello, everyone. My name is Leo Taurus, and I was Joshua's best friend," I said, trying to keep my composure. When I saw Joshua die, I couldn't help but feel helpless, like my world was getting torn apart. Learning about who killed him was even more heart-wrenching. I don't know if I'll ever fully recover from this. I could feel tears developing on my cold face. I continued speaking nonetheless. Joshua was a good friend, and his accomplishments fully outweigh anything bad he's ever done. I don't know much about his personal life, but I do know he was a very authentic and compassionate individual, and I'm very thankful I had the opportunity to be his friend in this life. Before I broke down bawling, I put the microphone down and ran to my seat. Everyone was called for their eulogies. Christopher and Adeline had short eulogies, which surprised me. When everyone was finished with their eulogies, the undertakers buried Joshua's body while playing sad music. When the undertakers finished burying Joshua, everyone walked up to his tombstone. I began to walk to his tombstone after the main crowd receded and laid my indigo flowers down before reading the text engraved on the stone tombstone. The text read, "Death to Horror Fair Ordeal." That filled me with fury. I began to slowly tear up after reading that text. They'll never know how he truly died.